Ultimele decenii au însemnat schimbări majore în configurația regiunilor din întreaga Europa. Industrializarea în plină expansiune, discrepanța rural-urban în ceea ce privește infrastructura și condițiile de trai, avantajele vieții într-un oraș mare, cu toate facilitățile existente, au dus în multe zone la o depopulare masivă a localităților rurale, cu consecințe pe termen lung. Acum însă se vorbește tot mai des despre revitalizarea acestora, care se arată a fi esențială. O ediție specială a emisiunii Europa 360, inițiată de TVR Timișoara și finanțată de Comitetul European al Regiunilor. Unele țări au înțeles mai repede importanța zonei rurale, așa că au luat măsuri din timp și se bucură pe deplin de rezultate. Este cazul Sloveniei, unde dezvoltarea policentrică, bazată și pe orașele mici cu satele aferente, a existat încă din timpul fostei Iugoslavii.
How is the rural area seen nowadays in Slovenia?
In Slovenia, we invest quite a lot in development of rural areas. Also in the Yugoslavia time, at that time in Slovenia, we had the different than other states, Croatia, Serbia, polycentrical model of development. It means that we count really also on small cities around which we built village life. And when we started to be member of European Union, we really invest quite a lot of cohesion funds, agriculture funds in development of infrastructure in rural areas. And today in Slovenia, more than half people live in rural areas.
Which were the most important needs when you started investing in rural areas?
I can say that first is basic infrastructure, that you are connected with roads, then that you have quality water supply, water waste treatment also, this environmental infrastructure. But I was mayor between 1998 and 2011, and at that time we started to build fibers, broadband connectivity, optical fibers. And it's an interesting story that we built, our municipality has 26,000 people, 160 villages, and on the one village on the highest farmer in our municipality is 800 meters high. And when we built these optical fibers, he was over 50 and he came to me and he said, "Franz, I don't know what we speak about, but our children needs this." And if at that time people in village didn't know what we speak about, after COVID crisis, all we know very well. And after COVID crisis, it's clear that we need this basic infrastructure, plus also quality broadband infrastructure. And when you have this, then you can develop different businesses, you can raise the quality of life. And I can say that after COVID crisis, not only in Slovenia, also in other countries, the popularity of rural areas is higher. So I think that it's an opportunity that we still develop in the future in the highest way. And what is very important when we speak about rural areas, that we know that agriculture is a basic production, but we need also tourism in rural areas, we need small business in rural areas, we need factories.
This is what you pointed before, because you said rural life means not only agriculture, and the forestry means a lot of other things. Which are they?
Yes, and this, as I said, first is the tourism is, for example, in Slovenia, it's very close to farmers to produce food, quality food, wines, and if you sell it on your place at home, it's much expensive. Also for agriculture, during the COVID crisis, we developed a lot of this short chain and use digital platforms to connect producer and consumers. This is, for example, in these topics. There is a lot of opportunity also in energy sector. I cooperate with some municipalities. They are involved also in Horizon, how to ensure energy self-sufficient in rural areas. And these are good cases which we can then share to others. I spoke before also about silver smart villages. We do everything what is possible that people can stay at home in their village. So it means that few times a week somebody come to there, ask them something, clean something, or bring food or something. Also through one European project we also do that if somebody goes to hospital and he need physiotherapy, he need higher health care, we have a team who comes at home. And usually this is the crucial, that they don't stay in these places for elderly people, but they stay at home. So care for elderly people, e-health, these are also very, very important topic. Energy sector, I said, and mobility in rural areas is a big challenge, and we also have good practices also in care for mobility of elderly people. We have in many Slovenian rural communities that young people prepared one digital platform. They work together with municipalities, volunteers, and they offer free ride for all these people. There are volunteers as drivers, municipality insure cars and gasoline, and it's a very good also social connection between young and older people. So we have also new platforms for to ensure mobility of young people who go to music school, how to practice football or handball, that they can ask for this through this platform, that it's not necessary that parents use time, but 5-6 of them, they go together to the village, from the village to the city, 20-30 kilometers far away. So in many fields it's necessary to work on these solutions, and this concept of smart village, on which I work on 5 years, I usually say that it's necessary to translate these big Brussels words in practical case. And if we do this, and we have the coordinated regional policy from European level to local level, that we also work all together, I think that it's possible to stop this trend of urbanization, and that rural areas are less populated. I also, as Regi and Agri member, I many times repeated that it's very important also for cohesion of European Union, because cohesion of European Union cannot be made in such a way that people first from the rural areas goes to cities, and then from the southeast part of the Europe towards northwest part of the Europe. This is not cohesion on long term, and I'm also very sure that we through this we can also ensure this what we call European way of life, because in rural areas people work together, there is more tradition, there is more collaboration between them, and so there is many effects, and I try that it will be true, that we will do this, as I say, that we must do so much that people will recognize at the end that living in rural areas is privilege. As I said, I'm a farmer in rural areas in Slovenia, and I never change my way of life with Brussels life, where I go from Monday to Thursday.
That's very important, because one of your colleague speakers there pointed out something very interesting, saying that unfortunately most of the politicians in key roles in Europe, and not only, are not grown up and raised in rural areas, and that's maybe the reason why the rural areas are not still so much developed as they should be, because the politicians are not interested in rural areas.
Yes, colleague explained very well this topic. We know that the ratio of population is only 30%. It means that we have less than 30% of politicians who comes from rural areas. And what I also see when I speak with my colleagues who are younger, and I recognize that they don't have roots neither, and they don't know rural life. In my generation, usually our parents or grandparents live in rural area. Now it's more and more urban population, and people never had contact with this. So that this joke with purple cow is quite close sometimes to reality. And we cannot expect that they can understand these problems and they are interested to solve these problems. So
on the other hand, Europe cannot live without the rural area, definitely.
For sure, and I think that we got lessons first from COVID crisis, when we recognized also that quality of life in rural areas can be better. people want to leave. All people want to leave Paris at that time. It's a great city, but they try to come to rural areas. And unfortunately, also through this Ukraine crisis, we recognized how important it is that we never forget on three securities: military security, defense security, energy security, and food security. And food security ensures people who live in rural areas. And so I think it's very important. I must add also this, that I always repeat this, that it is very important that we don't have competition between cities and village, but we must cooperate together. And I always said that the cities are very important because there are consumers, there are tourists who comes to these regions. And I am from, as you said, from Slovenia. And if I look in our Alpine region, it's from Slovenia to France, Switzerland, Austria, Italy. This is a great combination of area where we have a lot of rural areas, also mountains with not excellent condition for development, but through very good cooperation between city and rural areas. We have here Milano, we have Munich, we have Switzerland cities, Salzburg, other, and this cooperation between cities and rural areas is excellent here. And what we can see, for example, in Baden-Württemberg in Germany, if you compare their figures of GDP, it's equal if they live in rural areas or in cities. So, but as I many times said, it's necessary to have policy. If you don't have a policy how to develop rural areas, it will be the natural trend of centralization, urbanization. And I think that the Europe is the best continent for the living because we have still developed both parts. In other parts of the world, as we know, there are much more these mega cities, and I don't like that Europe will be the continent of mega cities. It's necessary to prepare conditions that we will rural areas will be alive with and populated.
Timp de mulți ani, Piotr a condus companii gigante din Polonia. Ca director a avut în subordine mii de angajați, până a luat decizia radicală de a-și schimba viața. A părăsit tumultul orașului și s-a retras la o fermă din Munții Carpați.
Piotr Tuniewicz przez lata ujarzmiał duże firmy. Był prezesem i dyrektorem, kierował tysiącami ludzi. W końcu przesiadł się z limuzyny na konia.
Ja nie muszę Mercedesem jeździć. O, Mercedesa to mam tutaj. Jak uczę jeździć konno, to mówię, pamiętajcie, wy jedziecie Mercedesem, nie? Bo wodze trzeba trzymać w ten sposób, nie? To macie trzymać kierownicę w takiej pozycji, a nie rowerem, nie? Bo często wszyscy łapią wodzę, tak? No i nie ma tego ruchu, nie? Powodowanie koniem. Ja mówię, jedziecie Mercedesem i to jest mój Mercedes, o właśnie.
Bieszczady to najbardziej wysunięty na południowy wschód zakątek Polski. Tuż przy granicy z Ukrainą leżą dzikie i malownicze góry. Każdego roku tysiące turystów marzą tu o odpoczynku albo przeżyciu wielkiej przygody.
Było trudno, oczywiście, było bardzo trudno, bardzo ciężko dla mnie, kobiety z miasta, która nigdy nie miała do czynienia z mieszkaniem na wsi, no, ewentualnie na wakacjach. Przestawienie się wydawało mi się prawie wręcz niemożliwe, a jednak się da.
Piotr wie, że przeprowadzka z dużego miasta na wieś nie oznacza nieustających wakacji. Ma na głowie spłatę kredytu, musi zadbać o dom, stajnie i konie. Organizuje naukę jazdy i konne rajdy, ale nie musi się już ścigać z młodymi wilkami, których w korporacyjnym biznesie jest coraz więcej.
Nie zamieniłbym na pewno poprzedniego życia i tego pędzenia za kasą. My nie potrzebujemy nic, jak tylko to, żeby to, co w tej chwili tutaj mamy, dało nam utrzymanie i nic więcej tak naprawdę. I z tym się czujemy dobrze.
Jak mam momenty słabości, takiego kryzysu, że już nie mam siły, że właściwie bez sensu jest to wszystko, to siadam w salonie Sosnowego i czytam Księgę Gości. I najfajniejsze są wpisy dzieci, które są najbardziej uczciwe w wyrażaniu swoich emocji. I jeśli czytam, że to były najwspanialsze wakacje, że strasznie im się tu podobało i na pewno jeszcze do nas wrócą, to jest coś, co nadaje, jest motorem napędowym do dalszego działania, do wstawania rano z uśmiechem i podejmowania kolejnych wyzwań.
Przeprowadzka w góry wzmocniła rodzinę Izy i Piotra. Kiedyś widywali się tylko w weekendy. Dziś żyją w rytmie pór roku, bez telewizji, z ograniczonym internetem i zasięgiem telefonów. Ale z przekonaniem, że warto było zbudować coś od podstaw.
Ten cel, czyli to, żeby być razem, żeby wspólnie tworzyć rodzinę, zacząć coś od początku, stworzyć na własny rachunek, tak dla siebie i tak jak my chcemy, a nie jak nam narzucają, chyba było silniejsze od tego lęku o przyszłość. Tym bardziej, że teraz już wiemy, że jest to naprawdę bardzo złudne poczucie bezpieczeństwa, bo dzisiaj się tę pensję ma, jutro już się nie jest trybikiem w korporacji.
Piotr wie, że nawet w górach trudno dziś być samotnym jeźdźcem. Patrzy, jak wokół budują swoje domy ludzie biznesu, którym kryzys uświadomił możliwość wyboru.
În Cehia este mai nou la modă să te muți la țară din marile metropole. Infrastructura bine pusă la punct, facilitățile oferite în multe sate, dar și mândria locală îi fac pe tineri să se întoarcă în locurile de baștină și să pună umărul la dezvoltarea acestor zone.
One of the themes discussed at the summit and one of the themes discussed whenever the Europeans are gathering is rural revival. And I wonder which are the main pillars this rural revival should be based on?
It's a difficult question, as I mentioned during the panel, that to find out the unique recipe for rural revival, it's worth getting Nobel Prize, because it's really a set of many measures, some of them objective, but some of them not that objective. I always start with kind of rural pride, because I'm teaching at university, meeting a lot of students, and I'm always asking, why are you staying in Prague? Do you want to stay in Prague, or do you want to come back to Slovakia or to the regions of the Czech Republic? And they always have a lot of irrational arguments, because it seems to me that everyone thinks that once you go back to a rural area, that it's a kind of end of life. It's a zoo, which is a museum. So, and it's not right, There are many, many rural areas in Europe, and not just in Western Europe, Austria or Nordic countries, but even in Eastern Europe, which are not like that. And I always tell to the students my personal story, because I studied in Denmark, then I went to Brussels for internship, I got a job in Brussels. But anyway, I decided to go back to my rural area, which is very rural. It's 250 kilometers from Prague, where my mother that time was the mayor, my grandfather was the mayor before. So I naturally felt that I must come back with my experience to help to the region. And I started to work there as the local action group manager. It's the method leader, which I appreciate very much, like for this rural revival as one of the tools. And I am very happy that I can live in rural areas, because even having family, and everything, I can jump on the train. I am in 2 hours in Prague. So now I accepted to be Deputy Minister of Regional Development. But my first condition when the minister called me was that I want to stay a mayor, because, this is my priority number one. And if he wants, I can do the job. I will be the kind of ambassador of local governments. I will try to use my experience. And also my secretary, right hand, is also a mayor, actually the youngest mayor in the Czech Republic, who is also a mayor still and who works for the ministry. So that's the point there, so that you can, thanks to the modern means, either transportation or internet, you can live wherever you want and you can do a lot of things. So it's not right that there are not qualified jobs here. I have a friend who projects the high-speed railways from very traditional cottage or wooden house, living in a small municipality of 100 people here, and he's commuting to Prague twice a week, or he stays 2 days a week in Prague. Otherwise, he works from home here. And this is another factor. Yeah, we should use the modern technologies to bring quality of services to the rural areas. I very much appreciate the idea of smart villages. I am one of those who fell in love with smart villages, the same as with leader Silali. Because really, when you go, for example, to Slovenia, to Krško, I know that you also interviewed Mr. Bogovic, so it really works, or to Scandinavian countries, or I spent some time in South Korea to see. So it works, and we need broadband infrastructure as a basic public service in all areas, even in the smallest municipalities and settlements. This is number one. We need, of course, to overcome the digital divide, which is especially with seniors. But you know, in our municipality we have a community school where one of the most popular subjects is IT. So the seniors are coming. My mother is able, she's 72, she is able to do everything through computer. My grandmother, she's 95, she's able to call through Skype. Yeah? So it's not that difficult as everyone thinks that it is difficult. And then we can bring a lot of services to the living rooms of people. They can work from home. The services should come to the houses, not that the people commute for the services. You have to negotiate or be in connection with state from your homes. Yeah, it means e-government in Estonia, fantastic thing, you know. So education, of course. Yeah, now we have some rural universities which just teach online. Yeah, so I think it's a clue. But that's one thing. Another thing is other services, of course. Yeah, because I think I love the idea of basic standards of services, which is in South Korea. They say that whatever it costs, you know, there should be basic standards of services in each size of municipality. So even in the smallest one in Korea, they have sauna and library in every even smallest municipality, because library serves as a community house and sauna for meeting relaxation. And this is something which we should create even in Europe, basic standards, so that people who live wherever they live in Europe, so they are secure that they have basic services done, education, schools, transportation, but also sport, culture and those issues, of course, emergency, healthcare, yeah, and all those crisis management, so all those issues. So I think this is something which we should deal with. Otherwise, I feel in my generation and in younger generation that there is a kind of rural revival already, that a lot of people around Prague are coming to the rural regions because they see that the quality of life is much higher. They can work through internet, so it's easy. So I think it's also the change of paradigm, so that people come back, that it's sexy, as I mentioned yesterday, to live in rural areas. And we have a very progressive director of a school in our municipality. So we together, and he's the one who came from Brno. I attracted him. He became a director when he was 26 years, and we are trying to build up this kind of rural pride in the kids in the school, because you know, so that even though, you know, I told to my son, he's 4 years old, so we are saving money for his studies, so his only chance to use this money will be to study. So I told him, okay, you will go, he doesn't know what is Oxford, but I always tell him, you will go to Oxford, but then you will come back to Dolní Studenky and you will be a mayor and you will deal with the issues. And this is if the people come back, you know, skilled people, it works, you know, it works, because if you go to Austria, for example, in Kitzbühel region, it's 80 kilometers on not very good road from Innsbruck. And I have many friends there, you know, and they even do not want to move from the Tyrol, you know. One of my friends, he is the regional manager of the local action group, and his father is the mayor there, and he was married to a wife who works 250 kilometers away, and they were so proud to come from those areas, so that they are not staying together. They have 3 kids, and they are just commuting 200 kilometers from the place to place, because just of this rural pride, yeah, because they did not want to leave the place where they stayed. So I think this is something which is not difficult to persuade, but we should deal with that and we should work on that. And I think this is, I believe that the future is in the rural areas.